There is one number in modern air defense that matters more than radar range, missile speed, or interception percentage. It is not how advanced the system looks on paper. It is not how many targets the radar can track. It is one brutally simple question. How many interceptors remain ready to fire? Because the moment that number approaches 0, even the most advanced defense shield on Earth begins to lose meaning. A launcher without missiles is no longer protection. It becomes expensive hardware watching threats arrive with no ability to respond. And that single reality explains why missile defense systems, no matter how sophisticated, all share the same hidden weakness. They can be exhausted. Recent conflict reports have again pushed this issue into global focus. Claims emerge that multiple projectiles penetrated heavily defended airspace during sustained overnight attacks, raising renewed questions about whether the real vulnerability was not technical failure, but simple depletion. That distinction matters, because if a defense system fails due to malfunction, engineers can repair it. If it fails because operators make mistakes, procedures can improve. But if it fails because available interceptors are consumed faster than they can be replaced, the problem becomes far deeper. It becomes industrial mathematics. And industrial mathematics does not respond quickly. Factories do not instantly multiply output. Supply chains do not suddenly double capacity. Specialized missile production requires time, materials, electronics, testing, and highly trained labor. That means every sustained missile campaign becomes a race between launch speed and replacement speed. And in many cases, the attacker controls that race. A defending nation may possess advanced interception systems layered across multiple ranges. Short-range rockets handled by one network, medium threats by another, long-range ballistic targets by an even more expensive upper tier. But every successful interception has a cost. And often that cost is far higher than the cost of the incoming weapon itself. A relatively inexpensive drone can force the launch of an interceptor worth many times more. A low-cost rocket may trigger a defensive response that costs tens of thousands of dollars. A more advanced missile can require an interception costing hundreds of thousands, or even millions. This creates one of the most uncomfortable truths in military economics. The defender often spends more money surviving than the attacker spends attacking. And over time, that imbalance becomes dangerous. Because even if every interception succeeds, the inventory still shrinks. Every launch removes one more defensive round from storage. Every wave forces another calculation. How many threats are coming? Which ones must be stopped? Which ones can be risked? How long can this pace continue? This is where sustained attack strategy becomes especially powerful. A smart attacker does not necessarily seek immediate destruction. Instead, it can seek exhaustion. Not one overwhelming strike, but repeated waves. Drones mixed with rockets, cheap threats combined with expensive ones. Enough volume to force defensive launches again and again. Close enough in timing that resupply becomes difficult. Long enough in duration that the stockpile steadily falls. Eventually, the critical threshold appears. And once that threshold is crossed, even highly advanced systems begin showing gaps. That moment changes more than military calculations. It changes public psychology. Because missile defense is not only military hardware, it is also national confidence. For civilians living under threat, interception systems create a daily expectation of protection. People hear launches, they hear interceptions overhead. They trust that the shield exists. When that pattern breaks, fear expands immediately. Because the difference between hearing an interception and hearing an impact is not just sound. It is the collapse of certainty. That psychological shift creates pressure on leadership very quickly. Citizens begin asking hard questions. Why were reserves insufficient? Why was production not expanded earlier? Why was prolonged attrition underestimated? And these questions emerge while conflict is still active, not after it ends. This is why missile depletion can alter political decisions as much as battlefield outcomes. A government under rising civilian pressure often faces narrower strategic choices. And this principle does not apply only to one country. It applies globally. The same mathematics exist inside major Western missile defense systems. Every battery has finite launch cells. Every interceptor ship has limited vertical launch capacity. Every advanced missile costs time and industrial effort to replace. Even the largest military powers face this same truth. No stockpile is infinite. Production always lags immediate wartime consumption. This is why defense planners increasingly focus on alternative solutions. Directed energy systems, especially laser defenses, are often presented as the long-term answer. Because electricity changes the equation. A laser does not require a physical missile for every shot. If energy is available, repeated engagement becomes possible at dramatically lower cost. That could transform defensive economics, but that future is not fully operational yet. Real battlefield deployment still faces serious limitations: atmospheric interference, weather disruption, power requirements, thermal control, tracking reliability at combat ranges. Until those engineering barriers are solved at scale, interceptor missiles remain the primary shield, and missiles remain finite. That means one strategic principle continues to dominate. In prolonged conflict, time often benefits the side that can produce cheaper offensive weapons faster than the defender can replace expensive defensive ones. That is not ideology, that is arithmetic. And arithmetic has no emotion. It does not care how advanced a radar is. It does not care how expensive a command system is. It only counts what remains available when the next wave arrives. That is why the most dangerous moment in air defense is often invisible. Not the first strike, not the loudest strike, but the moment when commanders know inventory has fallen below safe margin. Because from that point onward, every launch decision becomes heavier. Every interception matters more. Every incoming object becomes a cost calculation. And in modern warfare, those calculations may decide outcomes long before armies ever meet directly. The future of missile defense may depend less on building stronger interceptors, and more on building systems that can survive prolonged economic attrition. Because modern conflict is no longer only about who has better weapons. It is increasingly about who can afford to keep using them longer.